The rain had just started to fall over the hills of Malibu when Ana de Armas stood at the edge of the film set, arms crossed, eyes distant. She wasn't cold, but she hugged herself like someone trying to stay whole around her crew members. Rushed with umbrellas and plastic covers, but none dared to approach her. Something about her stillness felt sacred, like silence after a storm. From the shadows near the trailers, Keanu Reeves watched her quietly. He wasn't intruding. He wasn't staring. He was simply present. He had noticed it since morning. Ana hadn't spoken much. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. And during rehearsals, her laughter came too quick. Like it was hiding something. Keanu didn't know what was wrong. But he knew enough to understand when someone was building a wall too fast for their own good. They were filming a quiet, indie drama together, one that needed long takes, unscripted emotions, and raw performances. It was the kind of story that stripped an actor down to their soul. Maybe that's why she was struggling. Maybe the role had opened something she wasn't ready to face. Keanu had seen it before. Actors pouring themselves into a character only to find pieces of their own past buried inside. Pain they hadn't named. Truths they hadn't told. He waited until the scene was wrapped and the crew moved on to lunch. Then, without speaking, he walked over to the edge of the platform where Ana stood. He didn't say anything, just sat on the wooden steps beside her. Not too close, not too far, just there. Ana didn't look at him, but she didn't move away either. After a long moment, she whispered, "Do you ever feel like people see you, but they don't really know you?" Keanu nodded slowly. "Every day," he said. The rain tapped gently against the canopy above them. Ana's eyes stayed fixed on the gray horizon. "I keep thinking I'm fine. I work. I smile. I do everything. Right. But some days it feels like I'm holding up a house made of glass, and no one sees the cracks." Keanu didn't rush to respond. He let the silence breathe between them, soft and warm. Then he said, "You don't have to fix the cracks. Sometimes they're the most honest part of us." Ana turned to look at him for the first time. Her eyes were wet, but not from the rain. "What if people stop believing in me?" she asked. "Then they never really did," he said gently. "Because the real you isn't something they get to decide. It's something you choose to share." Ana looked down at her hands. Her fingers trembled slightly. "I told myself I would never let anyone see me like this," she whispered. "Not weak. Not broken." "This isn't weakness," Keanu said. Softly, "This is courage. Letting someone see your truth. That's the strongest thing a person can do." She didn't answer, but she leaned her shoulder ever so slightly toward his. It was small, quiet, but it meant everything. The crew called them back to set, but Ana stayed seated. "I can't go back out there yet," she said, voice low. Keanu stood up, offered his hand. "Then we don't go back until you're ready. They'll be angry." "Understand," he said. She looked up at him, trying to read his expression. All she saw was calm, patience, no judgment. "Why are you so kind to me?" she asked. Keanu smiled faintly, "Because someone once was kind to me, and it changed everything." She took his hand. They didn't go back to set that afternoon. Instead, they walked slowly toward the edge of the hill, where the sea met the sky. The rain had stopped. The world was quiet, and for the first time in days, so was her mind. But as they stood together in the silence, Ana felt something rise in her chest. Not fear, not shame, something different, trust. And that was the beginning of everything. The next morning on set, the sun was out, but Ana felt like it hadn't reached her yet. She had barely slept. Her mind kept going back to the moment Keanu held her hand without asking questions, without pressure, without needing anything back. It wasn't the kind of kindness she was used to. People were kind when they wanted something, when cameras were rolling, when names were trending. But not him. He had stayed even when she couldn't give him words. He had stayed when she was quiet, fragile, guarded. And for the first time in years, that made her want to speak. The call time was early. Makeup chairs buzzed with chatter and curling irons. Coffee cups clinked together. The director walked around, with a folded script and worry in his eyes, but Keanu sat calmly in the corner, flipping pages of an old paperback book. Dressed in a soft black, Hoodie. Anna walked past everyone and sat beside him. He didn't look up, just turned a page and asked, "Gently, you okay?" She nodded, a little better. "It's more than enough," he said. For a while, they just sat. Then, softly, she asked, "Do you ever think people only love the version of you they made up in their head?" Keanu closed his book slowly. "Yes," he said. "And sometimes I let them, 'cause it's easier than explaining the truth." Nodded. "Me too. But I think I'm tired of pretending." He looked at her now, eyes warm but steady. "Do you want to talk?" She hesitated, then she whispered, "I never talk about my father." Keanu said nothing. He waited. Anna's voice was slow, like she was digging through memories she usually kept buried. "He used to say I was too sensitive, too emotional. He said it like it was a flaw, something to fix. I learned to hide it. To laugh when I wanted to cry? To smile when my stomach hurt from anxiety?" She paused, eyes glistening. "I became good at pretending," she said. "On set, in interviews with friends. But then it followed me off screen. And now I don't know where the act ends." Keanu didn't interrupt. He let the pain land softly in the space between them. Anna blinked, then added, "And the worst part is, I think I started believing him. Said I was only lovable if I was perfect." Keanu leaned forward, elbows on knees. His voice was quiet, steady, he said. "I used to blame myself for the things that happened in my past. I thought maybe if I had been different, things would have turned out better. But eventually, I realized some people just don't know how to love gently. And that's not your fault." Anna let out a shaky breath. "Do you still carry it with you?" she asked. "Sometimes," Keanu said. "But I learned something important. You can put it down, even if it's heavy. You just have to trust someone enough to hold it for a while." Anna looked at him, tears forming again, but they weren't the same as before. This time, they weren't from shame. They were from relief. For the first time, someone didn't tell her to be strong. Someone didn't fix her or distract her or tell her it would pass. He just saw her completely. The director called her name from across the set. Anna stood up, brushed her coat, and looked down at Keanu. "Thank you for holding space." Keanu nodded once. "Always." And as she walked away, there was something new in her posture. Not just grace, a quiet kind of strength. Later that day, as the cameras rolled and the scene unfolded, Anna gave a performance no one expected her. Eyes carried real ache. Her hands moved with truth. When she delivered her final line, there was a hush on set that felt almost sacred. No one clapped. No one spoke. But in the far back, Keanu gave her a small nod, just enough for her to know. He saw her, not the version. On the screen, not the one in the headlines, but the real Anna Raw, honest, imperfect. And that version was finally starting to believe she was enough. The days that followed were filled with long shoots and tight schedules. The story they were filming was emotionally intense, and the director pushed them to their limits. But something had changed in Anna. She no longer acted with just her face. Or her voice, she acted with her soul, and people noticed. The producer stopped by set more often. The crew grew quiet when she performed. Even the extras whispered that something had shifted. There was honesty in her now that felt rare in their world. But off camera, Anna still struggled. She'd smile at the right times. She'd laugh at jokes. But then, when she was alone in her trailer, the old thoughts crept back. What if it didn't last? What if people only liked her when she was broken on screen, but couldn't handle her in real life? One evening, after a long emotional scene, Anna stayed behind while the rest of the crew wrapped up. She stood under the hot lights, arms folded. Tightly, Keanu had already changed out of costume, ready to head home. But as he passed the stage, he saw her still standing there. Unmoving eyes, glazed without thinking, he stepped quietly beside her. "Want to sit for a bit?" he asked. Anna didn't speak, but she followed him to the edge of the empty set. Sat on the floor, backs resting against a fake wall meant to look like a family kitchen. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Then Anna whispered, "I read something once. It said, people don't always want to be fixed. Sometimes they just want to be heard." Keanu nodded. "Yeah, I've lived that." "Me too," she said. "But most people try to fix me anyway. They try to avoid what I'm feeling altogether. They call me strong, so they don't have to look closer. Keanu looked straight ahead. Being called strong can feel lonely, can't it? Yes, Anna said, almost a breath. She let her head rest lightly against the wall. The lights above dimmed as the tech crew powered down the set, leaving them in a warm orange glow. Sometimes, she said slowly, I feel like I'm yelling without making a sound. Like I want someone to see that I'm not okay. But I've been quiet for so long. I don't know how to raise my voice anymore. Keanu turned to her. You don't need to yell, he said. Some people already hear you. Anna looked at him. Unsure you? She asked. Me, he said simply. Probably more than you think. She wanted to believe him. But a part of her still feared the silence that came after people saw the real her. Do you ever wish you could go back in time? She asked. Keanu paused. Sometimes, but only to tell my younger self one thing. What? That he was enough. Even when he didn't feel like it, Anna's voice broke a little. I wish someone had told me that too. Then let me tell you now, Keanu said. You're enough, Anna. Not the version they sell, not the one they expect you, just you. She closed her eyes. No applause, no music, just stillness. And in that stillness, her walls started to fall. Not all at once, but gently. Quietly, the kind of collapse that feels more like release. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Anna received a call from her agent, an interview she did months ago, one where she accidentally mentioned something personal about her childhood had been dug up and posted online. It was spreading fast. Headlines twisted her words. People speculated, exaggerated, even mocked her vulnerability. She felt the panic rising in her chest the moment she read the comments. She didn't even finish the article. She turned off her phone, locked the door to her trailer, and sat on the floor, heart pounding. Memories of her father's words came flooding back. The ones that told her she was too much, that no one would ever accept her if they knew the truth. She curled into herself, trying to disappear outside. Someone knocked once. She didn't answer. The knock came again, soft. Patient Anna, Keanu's voice called gently. I don't need you to open the door. I just want you to know you're not alone. Not in this. Not anymore. She didn't speak, but tears slid down her face. And in that moment, just hearing his voice through the door, she didn't feel ashamed. She felt seen. The knock didn't come again. Keanu didn't repeat his words. He didn't wait for a reply. He simply left her with that one quiet truth. You're not alone. Not in this. Not anymore. Anna stayed on the floor for what felt like hours. A storm. Inside her had no words, only memories, only echoes. She thought of the time her father said she was a burden. The day her first agent told her to smile more and talk less. The night she cried alone after her very first red carpet because someone online had said she looked too emotional. The headlines today felt no different. They didn't care about her truth. They only cared about turning it into something marketable, something messy, something they could point fingers at. And yet, one voice had cut through all of it. His Keanu didn't tell her to be strong. He didn't ask her to explain, just reminded her she didn't have to hide anymore. She stood up slowly, still shaky, but breathing. She walked to the mirror, wiped the streaks from her cheeks, and looked at her reflection. Not to fix her face, not to prepare a performance, just to see herself exactly as she was. And for once, she didn't turn away. Outside the trailer, Keanu sat alone on a bench, sipping lukewarm coffee from a paper cup. He didn't expect her to come out. He didn't need her to. He just wanted her to know someone would wait. Even if the world shouted louder, even if the cameras moved on, even if the headlines forgot he wouldn't. The sun had already begun to set. When the trailer door finally creaked open, Anna stepped out slowly. Her eyes were tired, but they held. Something new, not emptiness. Readiness. Keanu stood up quietly. Didn't say a word. She walked to him, stopped just close enough to be real. Can we go somewhere? She asked softly. He nodded. Anywhere. They drove out of the studio lot, in silence. No destination. just movement. Anna didn't speak until they reached a quiet overlook above the city. The view stretched far beyond the hills, the lights below. Flickering like small hopes, they sat on a worn wooden bench, the breeze brushing gently against their shoulders. When I was little, Anna began, I used to climb onto the roof at night, just to be alone. The stars were the only thing that didn't try to change me. Keanu listened, eyes fixed on the horizon. I'd make promises to them, she continued. I told them I'd never let anyone see the weak parts. I thought hiding made me strong. She paused. But that wasn't strength, was it? Keanu shook his head. No, that was survival. Strength is telling your truth, even when it scares you. Anna looked down at her hands. I don't know how to be that version of me yet. You don't need to be yet, he said. You just need to keep showing up. She looked at him then, really looked. Why do you care so much? She asked Keanu. Didn't flinch, didn't look away. Because I know what it feels like to carry silence like a second skin, he said. And because when someone held space for me, it saved my life. Anna swallowed hard. You're not just kind, she whispered. You're steady. Keanu smiled faintly. I try. They sat there until the sky turned deep blue. Back at the studio the next morning, the energy had shifted. Anna walked in wearing no makeup. No sunglasses. No mask. Crew members nodded respectfully. Some smiled, but she didn't force a smile back. She didn't need to. The director approached, script in hand. We added a scene, he said. You up for it? Anna took the script, scanned the lines, then handed it back. I don't need the words, she said. Let's just shoot it. Keanu watched from across the stage as she stepped into the center of the set. The lights warmed slowly. The cameras rolled in the scene her character was supposed to break, to confess something painful. Something buried, but Anna didn't act. She just let herself. Feel her voice cracked as she spoke, not because the script told her to, but because the truth rose from somewhere deep, somewhere unprotected. The room was still. When the scene ended, no one moved. Then slowly, Keanu clapped once. Others followed, but she didn't need applause. What mattered most was the stillness. She felt inside. Later that day, Anna found Keanu sitting by himself again. This time she sat next to him without waiting for an invitation. She leaned into his shoulder gently and said, Thank you for holding my truth like it was your own. He looked at her and whispered, It always was. The set felt different now. Not louder, not busier. Just more real. Anna walked through it like a woman who no longer needed permission to take up space. She no longer rushed to hide her feelings or fill silences with nervous laughter. She simply existed, fully, calmly, and every step she took made someone else on set breathe. A little easier, crew members who used to look past her now looked at her with something close to respect. Not the kind you earn by being famous, but the kind you earn by being honest. The script was nearly finished. The film was entering its final days. And everyone felt it. This wasn't just a movie. It was something more. Something that would stay with them. But Anna still had one thing left to face. Her past. Keanu found her that evening sitting on the stairs of her trailer, arms around her knees, watching the sky shift from pale blue to orange. He sat beside her. Without asking, You remember what I told you? She said softly. About my father? Keanu nodded gently. Anna took a breath. He called last night, out of nowhere. First time in almost 2 years. Keanu didn't say anything. He waited. He saw the interview clip, the one they twisted. And instead of asking how I was, he just said, You always know how to make drama. Her voice didn't shake, not like before. There was hurt hidden underneath. I could feel myself going small again, she whispered, like I was a child. Like everything I've done, all the work, the healing meant nothing. In that one moment, Keanu looked at her and asked softly, What did you say to him? Anna stared at the sky. I said nothing. I hung up. She paused, then added, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. Keanu's eyes softened. You protected yourself. I did, she nodded. I always thought healing meant fixing everything, repairing every relationship, proving myself. But now, I think it just means knowing when to stop bleeding for people who never asked how deep the cut was. They sat in silence again, but it was the kind of silence that carried peace, not pain. Anna leaned her head lightly against his shoulder. "You know what the hardest part is?" she asked. "What?" he said. "I'm starting to forgive myself for not being perfect, for not being everything to everyone. And that's harder than forgiving him." Keanu smiled quietly. "Forgiveness isn't letting someone off the hook. It's setting yourself free." Anna nodded. "I think I'm ready to be free." The next day, the final scene of the movie was scheduled to shoot. It was simple. Two characters sitting on opposite ends of a room, slowly finding their way. Back to each other without words, no dialogue. No background music, just silence and expression. The director was nervous. Scenes like this could either become magic or fall flat. Anna stood at one side of the set, Keanu at the other. The cameras rolled and something happened. They looked at each other like strangers who had known each other in a past life. Their eyes held stories. Their body language carried weight. Anna didn't move quickly. She just breathed. Her hand slowly touched the seat beside her. An invitation, not a command. And Keanu walked toward her, sat down beside her. Close, but not. Too close, they never spoke. Not once, but everything was said. When the scene ended, the director whispered, "Cut." No one moved. No one even breathed. Because in that moment, they had seen something raw. Something unpolished and unplanned. They had seen truth. Later, after everyone left and the lights dimmed, Keanu and Anna stayed behind. He handed her a small notebook. "What's this?" she asked. "It's something I write in," Keanu said. "Thoughts, memories, things I can't say out loud." She opened it. One page was marked. It said, "Some people show you their wounds, hoping you'll run. Others show you, hoping you'll stay. The kindest thing you can do is stay anyway." Anna looked up at him. "This is yours?" He nodded. She closed the notebook, holding it gently. "Thank you for staying," she whispered. Keanu looked at her with quiet eyes. "I didn't stay to save you. I stayed because I saw you saving yourself." Anna left the set that night with her shoulders straighter, her heart lighter. Not because the movie was over, but because for the first time in her life she wasn't performing. She was finally living. The final wrap day arrived like a whisper. No loud celebration, no fireworks, just hugs, quiet claps, and tired smiles. The crew packed equipment with care. Costumes were folded. Set walls came down one by one, like memories dissolving into mist. The film was complete, but the journey behind it would linger long after credits. Roll. Anna stood beside her trailer for the last time. Her reflection stared back at her from the small round mirror above the sink inside. Only this time, she didn't look away. Her eyes looked tired but honest. There were fine lines near the corners, but they weren't flaws. They were proof. Proof that she had survived. Proof that she had stopped apologizing for being sensitive. Proof that being seen didn't break. Hurt built her. Behind her, Keanu knocked once. She opened the door with a small smile. No hesitation, no hiding. "You ready?" he asked. She nodded. "Yeah, but can we go somewhere first?" An hour later, they sat at a quiet beach. The sky was pale blue. The waves rolled in steady, soft and endless. Anna reached into her bag and pulled out the notebook Keanu had given her. It was worn now, pages filled with her own handwriting. "I added something," she said, handing it back to him. He opened to the last page. "Truth is not something we confess to be saved. The truth is something we share to be seen." Keanu looked at her deeply. "Moved. That's beautiful," he said. "You helped me write it," she replied. A moment passed between them, full, warm, and still. "What happens now?" she asked. Keanu tilted his head slightly. "With the movie." "With us," she said. Gently, Keanu didn't rush the answer. He looked at the sea. "We keep showing up," he said. "Not just for each other, but for ourselves. We keep walking. Even when it's hard. Even when we're scared. When one of us forgets who they are, the other reminds them." Anna smiled. Not the camera-ready kind, not the polite kind. The kind that comes from a soul finally unclenched. Weeks later, the film premiered at a small independent theater. The audience sat in silence through most of it. No loud gasps, no clapping, just deep breathing and tear-filled eyes. When the final scene played, the silent one, where the two characters find each other again with no words, a woman in the front row quietly wiped her tears. A man beside her reached for his wife's hand. When the credits rolled, there was a long pause. Then, finally, quiet applause. Not for the stars, not for the fame, but for the truth. Afterward, Ina stood in the corner of the lobby, sipping water, dressed in a plain black dress. No jewelry, no makeup. Someone approached her. An older woman, maybe late 60s, with gray hair tied in a bun. "I just wanted to say," the woman said, "you reminded me that it's okay to feel again. I thought I was too old to start healing. But you made me believe it's never too late." Ina placed a gentle hand over her heart. "Thank you," she whispered, and she meant it. Outside, Keanu waited in the soft glow of the theater lights. He stood calm, hands in his pockets. Anna joined him, and they walked together down the quiet sidewalk. "You think people understood it?" she asked. "The ones who needed to," he said. "They did." She smiled again, that quiet, true smile. They reached a crosswalk. The red light glowed above them. Anna looked up at the stars just like she used to on her rooftop as a child. But this time, she wasn't making promises. She was living them. Keanu glanced at her. "So what now?" he asked. Gently, Anna turned to him. "Now we keep being real, even if it's messy, even if it's hard, even if no one claps." He nodded. And when the light turned green, they walked forward. Not as characters in a film, not as broken people pretending to be whole, but as two souls who had chosen truth over perfection. And for the first time, the truth didn't feel like something to hide. It felt like home.